Good evening, everybody. I'm Andres from HYDRO-QUAIL farm. I specialize in breed in Coturnix Quail. Yeah, I'm making this video because I like to help the beginners. So yeah, and a question I get asked a lot, and I have to repeat myself every time. Yeah, I don't mind repeating myself, but I feel if I make a video I can explain a bit better to everybody what to expect and what to look out for and what to be prepared for before you start with Coturnix Quail. Yeah, so my aim is to educate. I'm not a professional. I do it for the fun of it, to meet people, to interact with people. So yeah, the information I'm gonna give you today is out of my own experience. The school fees I paid, which somebody else don't need to pay. So what I'm gonna do is that this is gonna be a basic video. I'm gonna try and make it quick as possible, but you can only do it so fast. Okay, the first thing I get asked by beginners regarding Coturnix Quail is cage sizes. According to me, if you want to have control over your breeding stock and you want to be able to be hands-on and control the body size and all that stuff, I would recommend a 1.2 meter cage by 600 deep by 400 high. The reason I don't make it 600 high is because they like to jump. When they get scared, they jump, and then if your cage is too high, they bump their head, and most of the time they break their neck and they pass away. So yeah, when it's only 400 high, there's not enough room for them to accelerate and bump their head. So yeah, that's my cage requirements: 1.2 meters by 600 deep by 400 high. And then we start. Do you want to hatch your own eggs at first, or do you want to start with babies? Do you want to start with point of lay hens? Honestly, I would say get yourself a good breeder. Get yourself birds that's about 4 weeks old. They usually start laying between 6 and 8 weeks of age. So yeah, get them at 4 weeks old. They get about 2-3 weeks to settle in by you, because when you're gonna get point of lay and you move them, they're gonna stop laying in anyhow for 2 weeks approximately, depending on the new environment, the new climate conditions, whatever the case might be. So I would say get 4 to 6 week old birds, introduce them to their new home, give them about 2 weeks to settle, and then from there you would obviously get eggs once they start laying. Quail usually need about 14 to 16 hours of light a day. In later videos I'll show you what I've done, because it's expensive with electricity to have lights all over the show, and too bright lights are also not good. So I would show you in a future video how my lighting is. The only reason it's so bright now is because I'm making a video. But anyhow, so yeah, first of all, build your cages. If you want to have a 3-tier cage, if you build them on my specifications, you can put 3 on top of each other easily, and then the legs you just space 1.8 meters high, or whatever the case might be, to stack them. Yeah, so in the room I'm busy with it's my project room actually. This is where I pick my breeding stock for future. This is where most of the magic happens before I move them to the laying cages. Actually, I am laying inside, yeah. Okay, sorry for the interruption, guys. What I was saying is my hens are laying in here, but like I said, this is for my projects. This is what I use to get the best possible breeding stock for me for the future. Later in the video I'll explain to you what I'm doing in here actually. But yeah, so 4 to 6 weeks old birds I would recommend. If you take them earlier than that, you're gonna have to have them on a red light. You're gonna have to take extra care. They can't be in the cold. So yeah, from 3 weeks, I'm gonna show you in a bit a 3-week-old bird towards a 5-week-old bird. The ones I've picked to replace my breeding stock. Yeah. So the first thing is the cage size. The second thing is to get your pick your age of birds you want. Remember, they start laying between 6 and 8 weeks, and that time you don't want to disturb them or interrupt them. So my recommendation is get them on 4 weeks old, then you grow them out to 6 to 8 weeks, and then they would start laying. Obviously your food has to be right. In the beginning I give my chicks quail starter mix. It's a very fine crumb. Then after the first 2 weeks, then I change them to quail grower, and then after 6 weeks I change them to quail layer. Remember, they need higher protein than a lot of other stuff. I've had people in the past that phone me on 10 weeks, 12 weeks, but my quail aren't laying. Then I ask them, okay, let's start by your feed. What feed are you giving them? And then they tell me no, they're giving them crushed millies or something like that. So the reason I'm making this video is to prevent that. Start your quail right. If you want to do it right, start right. Okay, so I've told you now my feed I'm giving. And then in the water dish, when I take them out of the incubator, when you put eggs in the incubator and you say on day 17 they hatch, what I usually do is I leave them in the incubator. I leave the incubator shut down for 2 days. So they started hatching on day 17. I lock down. I don't open it at all because you shrink wrap your birds, and then 90% of your clutch will die. So with incubation, I leave them 48 hours in the incubator, let them dry out, let all the babies hatch. Then from there, I take them out, I put them in the brooder, I put them on quail starter. It's a very fine crumb with a little bit of vitamins to boost them. Then I leave them in the brooder for 2 to 3 weeks depending on the weather. It's been winter with us now, so the quail have been in the brooder for a bit longer periods of time. So yeah, so that topic is covered now. Yeah, my most important thing with incubation, and a mistake I see a lot of people do, is they see there's 5 quail in the hatch. They've got 150 quail in the incubator, 150 eggs. They feel sorry for the 5 babies that's in the incubator. They open the incubator and they kill all of the remaining eggs that were supposed to be hatching. The moment you open the incubator and the air pressure changes, it shrink wraps the babies. But I'm gonna do an entire video on incubation in the near future, just to explain to people that's not up to speed like most of us are. Yeah, I'm probably gonna get a lot of criticism, but this is the way I do it and it's working for me. I hatch a lot of quail. I sell a lot of quail for the people that knows me. It's just been a bit quiet now, and I've been busy replacing my parent stock because most of them are almost 2 years old. So yeah, that's the thing. So the next topic I wanna cover is a quail lays anything between 250 and 300 eggs a year, depending on the conditions. Yet again, if you're gonna have them naturally with the natural light, the sun and outside, the egg production is not going to be as high as having them indoors. I'm not saying put them in your house, but indoors with a light that's 16 hours running a day. So your egg count won't be the same if you have them outside. But 250 to 300 eggs a year. Most birds last 1.5 years. Then you will get birds that last 3 years, depending on the management, depending how quickly you rotate your birds. Me, the birds I rotate, or which I would replace my young stock, I'll put my young stock and replace my older stock. That hens, I don't cull them, or they go to a retirement cage, because they still do give me eggs, and I still want that blood in my family, so I do still incubate the eggs myself, but I won't sell them again, because remember, at the end of the day I want to sell the highest chance of hatching. And obviously we're having old birds that's not able to perform like they used to. Your hatch rate is going to drop, and then you're going to get a very bad name. So yeah, so it's between 200 and 300 eggs a year. There is people that gets much more eggs than that from each quail, but that's my experience from the years going on. Okay, and then obviously the weather plays a big role in your egg production as well. Remember, quail can take cold, but they can't take wind. Then another thing is, quail don't like a massive change in temperatures and fluctuations and stuff. They will stop laying. You can have 3 nice hot days and the next day it's ice cold. They will stop laying. So if you have them outside, if you want to run production, basically, if you want to call it that way, on the eggs, I won't recommend having them outside. I would recommend having them in a small room or garage or a porch or something where they are away from the elements, so they wouldn't be affected so drastically. So yeah, that's my experience. Obviously, I would say the best bird for a quail, for somebody to start with, is a Jumbo Coturnix Quail. You get a Jumbo and you get a normal Coturnix. In my personal experience, I would say the normal Coturnix lays much more eggs than a Jumbo Coturnix. I can be wrong, it can be my management, but what I've experienced, if you have Jumbo, the Jumbo's doesn't lay as much as the normal Coturnix. The Jumbo is a lot bigger than the normal Coturnix, but I will still get into that in the future. For now, I just want to get somebody, I just want to educate some beginners so they know how to start, and they know which way to go and which way not to go. Okay, if you want to have them naturally outside, I would say having them naturally outside, but have somewhere for them to hide from the elements. So cover one half of your cage with, you can use shade cloth, you can use plywood, you can use anything, just not something that will harm the birds. Then they love their sand baths. If you want to have your quail happy, let them have a nice sand bath. I let my birds sand bath once a week, usually on a Sunday. Then everybody is supposed to relax and what have you. I wanted to take you through the math a little bit for people that's beginning to actually make a profit out of them. I'm gonna run through a simple number to start small, and then obviously as you go, you'll go bigger and bigger and bigger if that's what you want. So if you have a 3-tier cage of 1.2 meters by 600 by 400, like my cages, if you have 3 of them, 16 hens in each cage and 4 roos, I recommend 5 hens, 1 roux, but in this cages I would put 4 roux, 16 hens. That equals to 48 eggs a day. So what I usually do is I collect and sell eggs for 6 days. The 7th day I take that eggs and I put them in the incubator. First of all, I wanna, how can I say, when the people phone me and they tell me, okay Andries, this was my hatch rate, for instance 50% or whatever, then I can compare it with my hatch rate, and then if there's a problem, I will have a problem, and the people that bought by me that week will have a problem. So usually what I do is I notify them, or when they tell me, I would tell them, okay, but my hatch was like this, your hatch is like this. If there's a variation, a big variation, then we look where was the problem. Usually we find the problem, the people, they maybe open the incubator before all the eggs were hatched, then they shrink wrap the birds, or sometimes it was just not a very fertile week. So there's a lot of factors we look at when that happens. It does happen to all of us. Nobody can give you 100% hatch rate every single time. It just doesn't work like that. It's nature. But yeah, so what I was busy saying, so for 6 days you collect eggs, 48 eggs a day. It's 288 eggs for the 6 days. And then if you sell them at R2 each an egg, you're gonna have 576 rand for the week. So that's on a 48 bird egg count. But remember, like I told you, the elements play a role. Don't go in and think I've got 48 birds, all of them are gonna lay every single day, because they don't. They lay eggs every 26 hours, depending on the weather. So yeah, do your calculations, be with your birds, be with the elements. You can't control the elements, but you can enhance them. You can save your birds a little bit. You can help them to prevent cold and loud noises and stuff. They don't like now loud noises. They don't like it when you're in their cages the whole time. So yeah, and then I like to collect my eggs every day between 7 o'clock at night and 8 o'clock at night. It means I gave them the whole day to lay eggs. They usually only start laying about from 3 o'clock to afternoon to about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. I have had birds that lay past 7, but not often. So yeah. So now I gave you a little bit of feedback on what to do with your eggs. You sell them for the first 6 after 6 days. The 7th day, you take that eggs and you incubate them. When they hatch, obviously, if your parent stock is still alright and you don't want to expand, then you sell the babies. But you must always remember, look after your parent stock. Always have a backup. If something goes south, you've got runner-ups. You've got something to replace your older birds. So yeah. And then one of the last things for this video, I would say on day, I don't recommend putting eggs in the incubator after day 7, because then your fertility starts dropping, or your hatch rate starts dropping. Not your fertility, they're going to be fertile anyhow, but your hatch rate starts dropping. They say you got a window between 7 and 10 days. I have put eggs in the incubator much older than that, and they did hatch, but I don't recommend it. You will not have a 100% rate. So yeah, please account for all those things. And if you want to do it right, do it right. Remember, you spend a lot of money investing in cages, in watering systems, in feeding systems, in the feed, in the actual bird. Do it right from the beginning. You won't have so many losses. Don't make your calculations, think, yeah, I can have 1,000 birds and this is what and this is what. First learn. First educate yourself get your own experience first with the quail you currently have. Then from there you decide how many you want, because it's quite challenging. It's a full-time job actually if you want to run production and you want to be successful. You have to keep the clay cages clean. Their mist has got a very high, a very strong smell, which does affect you and which affects them. So if your cages is clean, like mine, I sit in here, you shouldn't smell them. They should be clean. And by that it means management. The management has, you as the caretaker, caregiver, have to look after them. You have to clean their cages. You have to be on top of them. If you see something is wrong or someone is sick or something, you have to remove him from the cage, and by doing so you're preventing your whole flock from getting sick, because sickness among them will spread. They're very tough bird, but they will spread. So yeah, I hope that answers some of your questions. If there's anything, you can just leave a comment below and then I would answer it. If you want me to make another video on another topic, I will do it. If you want me to go more in depth in this topic, I will do it. So yeah, thank you. Have a wonderful evening.